Hello, do I sound good? Oh, I sound fantastic. This is the Eddiestechtalk podcast. For those of you that don't know, I am Eddiestechtalk. You can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/Eddiestechtalk. I've been reviewing phones, tablets, computers, smartwatches, all that stuff. I've been taking a look at the latest and greatest in technology for probably over 4 years now, maybe even 5 years. So it's been quite a long time doing YouTube and doing those kinds of reviews. And I used to do written reviews on my website back in the day, if you've been around that long. And so I decided to kind of transition and start this podcast. Now, we'll still see video reviews. Those will still happen. Have some filming planned in the next couple days here. But I wanted to make this transition to podcast to kind of talk about what's happening in technology. Where do I see smartphones in 5 years? What's happening with net neutrality? What's happening in the smartphone world? What's happening in the laptop world? Just kind of the consumer technology world in general. And I think a lot of people really do enjoy talking about those sorts of things. So I really started this as a way to have a conversation, a really, really cool, really fun, really engaging way to kind of talk about technology. And I would kind of like to say, too, that this is really an entirely subscriber-funded podcast so far. I bought a new mic, a very nice mic, the Audio-Technica AT2020. I have the Behringer Euphoria UMC 204 HD interface. And I also have just a mic stand I bought for $33 from Guitar Center. And a shock mount and a pop filter that was like $10 on Amazon. If you want to know what I am I was going to say filming with, but podcasting with here. This is entirely subscriber funded. I've been doing this for about 4 years on YouTube. Really, you can't make a living on YouTube. You can't pay your rent on YouTube. You can't do much of anything on YouTube. But saving all that money for all this time with the business has paid for this podcasting equipment. So, real awesome, very humbled by the support that I've been given on the video front, and I hope that a lot of you guys will follow me over here to podcasting. And we'll really find our identity as we go. This is kind of a work in progress, and I say we because you guys are just as much a part of the podcast as me. So if you really, I really like feedback, questions for the next podcast, potential topics. So leave those in the comment section on YouTube, which is where we're going to start this podcast, transition over to iTunes, Google Play, those kind of places soon, I'm sure. But starting on YouTube for now, so leave any feedback in those comments. But the topic of this show today is really going to be why do smartphone manufacturers suck, to get into it now. And it's kind of weird that we're talking about that in 2017. Smartphones have been around since at least 2007 if you consider the original iPhone and kind of the dawn of the smartphone. I really consider it to be a little bit earlier, maybe around the 2003, 2004, kind of mid-era BlackBerry range, I guess, timeline. So we've been at this really for over 10 years now, and there's a lot of things that have been coming up in the news lately that really make you scratch your head kind of at these smartphone manufacturers, and it's why do they suck? What's going on with smartphone manufacturing? And I'll just bring up several examples now and kind of get into all of that. And then I'll also talk about, related to that, customer support that these manufacturers provide. Everyone reviews their products, reviews their phones, has them for, if you're, a lot of the higher end YouTubers, they really don't take the time to review the device as well as they should because they have so much to review. They'll take 3 or 4 days on a device and send it back, whereas I have a device for at least 2 weeks when I review them, which I think is a really good time to get a handle on how devices work and all that. But no one sticks around. No one, stays in it for the long haul to see how does a manufacturer support a device? How does a device hold up over time? So we'll get into that as well. So, in the news just this week, Google's Pixel 2 and Pixel 2 XL phones were released and are beginning to ship to consumers, beginning to be stocked in stores, all that kind of stuff. And with the 2 XL, there's a lot of reports already, just a couple days into this thing, of screen burn-in. For those of you that don't know what screen burn-in is, this happens with old plasma TVs, I think old tube TVs as well, perhaps. And this can happen with the AMOLED and OLED type display technologies that Samsung and now LG, use. LG manufactured the Pixel 2 XL, and they just made the switch from a LCD display to an AMOLED, or I believe OLED display. Technically, they're different from an engineering standpoint, but they're pretty similar to the consumer, really. And what these AMOLED and OLED panels have the potential to do, they can light each pixel on the screen one by one. So those displays typically have more punchy colors, more saturated colors, better contrast, and things like that, because they have fine-tuned control over every pixel on the screen, whereas something like an LCD, a liquid crystal display, which most TVs are made out of, and a lot of smartphones, those have to light up the whole panel. So if you have a black background on an OLED or an AMOLED screen, those pixels of the screen are actually off. That part of the screen is physically not on. Whereas if you have a black background on an LCD screen, I'm sure you guys have seen this on your TV. If you just have you're switching channels and you have that moment where it's black for a second or something like that, the screen's on, it's lit, it's just lit black. So the blacks obviously don't look as black because the screen is on. And when you have these pixels that you can individually light and do things with, you do have the potential for screen burn-in. Now let's say you leave the time up on your smartphone all day, every day, 24 hours a day for a really long time, and your screen never turns off and all that kind of stuff, then you really, have the potential for screen burn-in. So it's kind of weird that these are happening already, just a few days in to these Pixel 2 XL phones. People are already reporting screen burn-in, and that's just so strange to me. Google's really taking this opportunity to go at the iPhone to say this is a Google manufactured product, even though the Pixel 2 is an HTC product mostly, and the Pixel 2 XL is a LG product mostly. Google is really trying to take this opportunity to say, this is our product. We had control over all the details of this. This is our iPhone competitor. And they're having quality control issues. I mean, it's inexcusable. If you're Google and you really want to go after Apple, you want to go after Samsung, you need to have better quality products. Now, obviously, Samsung also, why do smartphone manufacturers suck? Their Note 7 exploded, and I don't forgive them for that. It seems like all the other tech reviewers just go on with their lives. Yeah, the Note 8's fine, Galaxy S8's fine, and no one really cares. But for a company to have that low of a quality control, that's just something that really doesn't sit well. It doesn't sit right with me. So that's why I'm not buying a Samsung, at least in the near future, to kind of distance myself, from that whole thing. So Samsung, not the greatest quality control last year, and then this year, obviously, like we're talking about now, we have these Google Pixel 2 XL phones. They're having screen burn-in, and it's been a week, and you're already having problems with that display. Very strange, and why is that? Why are they letting this slip through quality control? What are some of the reasons? My best speculation, I don't have any inside sources or anything, is that just people want to get these new phones out, these new features out. People want these new phones so badly that they're just really kind of rushing them to the market. To me, that's the only real explanation, and it's still not a good one, but it is at least semi-valid. In addition to the Pixel 2 issues, LG's also having issues with its new V30 smartphone, not with the same issues as the Pixel 2 XL, but they're having issues with, on their V30, when you put a totally white static, image and you max out the brightness on that phone, you'll see splotchy brightness areas. The brightness isn't uniform across the phone, which is something that I've never seen personally before in a smartphone. I don't often, I don't test for that, but, this is something that people have noticed on the V30 just living their normal lives and using their smartphones their normal way. They're getting this uneven brightness. So, and that's not an issue, obviously, that's confined to LG. Obviously Samsung last year with these problems. The list just goes on. You have Samsung, you have LG. Motorola has had issues in the past, though I don't want to put them on blast because I've had a fantastic experience with them, and I haven't had issues with them personally, really, in quite some time. But kind of the last part that I want to get into is why manufacturers suck. Even when you put out a good product, you have to be able to support it. And the latter half of this podcast is going to be kind of manufacturer support, why reviewers don't mention it, why people don't talk about it, and it's really something that matters quite a bit, in my opinion. So I'll kind of get into my personal story with HTC. Now, HTC, they've been in the smartphone game a long time. They just sold off a huge portion of their smartphone development team to Google, which is the team that developed the original Pixel and the Pixel 2, the non-XL version. So it kind of makes sense for that acquisition as Google wants to get more and more into their own hardware, own branded hardware. But in any case, I've been buying their phones for quite some time. I had the HTC Droid DNA, which was kind of a precursor to the HTC One line of phones. And that was a great phone that actually overheated while charging, died. And then I had the HTC One M7, which that phone was a tank. That's by far one of the best phones ever made. They were the first ones to do that all-metal phone build that Apple uses now and is really kind of the trend now. And it was a fantastic phone. So obviously, since I had a great experience, as one is apt to do, I bought the HTC 10, which was a great phone for the most part until I wanted to send it in for warranty. And I do this kind of at the end of my product life cycles in terms of their warranty to kind of get everything checked out. If I've had a weird nagging issue here or there, I want to send it in while it's still under warranty so I can have issues. I didn't have that many issues with the device. I might have had some charging issues here and there, which may or may not have been cord related. I just didn't know, so I wanted to send it in to be safe. So I sent it into HTC. I got the phone back about 7 to 10 days later, and it still wasn't working quite right in terms of the charging. I think it was really maybe just a cord or something, but again, I wanted to be sure. I was having headphone issues every once in a while too. I don't want to knock the quality of the product because I still think it was good and it could have been my devices, but I just wanted to send it in again just to make sure. And it was very strange when they sent me the device back. I just got the device in a box. No one called me to see how I was doing. There was no invoice in the box, or no, I guess not invoice, but piece of paper saying, here's what we did, here's what we found. There was no email. They just sent the phone back. For all I know, they did nothing. So that was odd. But I sent it back. They said 7 to 10 days, and I said, okay, cool. I believe this was the end of July. And I know that they got my phone. I believe it was August 14th. They had my phone in their possession. And they quoted me again, hey, 7 to 10 days, we'll get this out. We'll, replace the charging port, and, we'll get this back to you. And I said, okay, great. I still don't have my phone. It's October 25th. It's been, since August 14th or whatever it was. And, this really brought up a great point of, YouTubers and these reviewers, and even myself included, because I get devices sent to me usually. A lot of us don't stick around for the long haul. We don't get to these points where we have to submit a warranty claim or something like that. And so my HTC experience has just been a total nightmare. I mean, the worst customer service I've ever experienced. To preface, I sent a device into Motorola because there was I had a build quality issue when I first bought it, and then they sent me back the same device and it had the same issue, and I said, look, I just don't want this, Motorola, can you help me out here? And they said, yeah, we'll send you the Droid Turbo for Verizon, and I'm on Verizon. So that was fantastic, really liked that. I did have to harass them because they wouldn't escalate my ticket ever, so that no one was responding to me. So I did have to call them every day for probably 4 days. But, from the time I sent that phone in to the time that I got the new phone back and in my possession, 7 days, 10 days, and they made me happy. They upgraded me. I have confidence in their product again, that, they've earned a customer in me, really. And, that was a good experience. And that's something that I can reflect on being a good experience. I can wholeheartedly recommend Motorola's new phones and things like that because I know that, one, the products are good, and then two, if you experience an issue with them, they'll have your back. They'll get you set up with their warranty, claim. And I know personally that experience happens to be a good one. Now, transitioning back to my HTC experience, like I said, I'm a loyal customer. I bought their phones when it seemed like no one else would because their numbers are down, and now I've just been getting shafted, and I feel like, not being an HTC customer. I chatted with at least a dozen people with no progress. They kept saying, I'll escalate your ticket, we'll do this, and that never happened. I finally called them. I was chatting with their representatives at least a dozen times up to this point. I called them and I said, what is going on? And this was probably a week ago, so it had been, 60 days. What's happening here? And, they kind of corroborated what the chat people told me. Their repair warehouse is in Houston, which was hit by that hurricane at the end of August, as we all know. There's a lot of tragedy going on down there, so I do understand that getting my phone back isn't, anyone's real top priority, and, I understood that. But with me sending in the device at the beginning of August with that 7 to 10 day quoted time, I should have received my device back before the hurricane ever happened. So using that hurricane as an excuse why my phone wasn't back, I only half bought it because I should have had my phone back anyway. But I said, okay, fine, I'll give you guys another couple weeks. I have a backup phone, which a lot of people don't have. So, it's fortunate for me that I have it, but a lot of people just don't have. That's not a priority for them. They don't feel like having a backup phone. So, to be out of your real phone for over 60 days, I mean, that is my real primary phone, but to not have a phone at all for that long is unbearable, and I can't believe HTC lets this go on. But in any case, he corroborated that story and said, the chat people that you've been chatting with for 2 months now, they didn't escalate your ticket the right way. I mean, what? What? They didn't escalate my ticket? They kept saying they would, and they didn't do it? Oof. I mean, that made me upset, but this was like a week ago. Their phone representative was really helpful. He said, I'll escalate it right. It's going to get done right now. This is an escalation officer. He'll take care of you, and he'll give you a call by Tuesday, I promise. And I said, okay, they did say that someone would call me before, and that didn't happen. And he said, no, they'll call you by Tuesday. Tuesday rolls around. I get a call from a private number, so I never answer those calls. I answered this one for whatever reason. So they had no listed phone number. And the guy, I think he's an Indian guy or something, he says, oh yeah, I'm the escalations officer. I'm handling your case. And I said, okay, great. What do you have for me? It's been 60 days. You've had my phone 60 days. I've been a loyal customer for many years. What do you have for me? And he says, and I basically quote, your device is in our repair center. End quote. What? My device is in your repair center? That's what they've been telling me since August. I know it's in your repair center. What are you going to do for me? You've had my phone 60 days. And he acknowledges, yeah, we've had your phone 60 days. And I said, what are you going to do? I bought the Droid DNA. I bought the M7. I bought the 10. I've been a loyal customer of you guys for, quite some time. How are you going to take care of me? Can you reimburse me? Can you send me, a coupon? Can I get, the HTC U11? Can you give me like that in credit to the HTC store so I can buy that? I need a phone. Like, you guys have had my phone for 60 days, and I'm getting mad because I've just had to fight them for so long. And he says, well, there's no coupons that I can give you that are as good as the offers that we're offering on HTC.com. So, just navigate on over to HTC.com. You can buy a new phone. They still have my phone. I said, you have my phone. I'm not going to buy another phone. I've been a customer for a long time. And I said, you're making me, I'll never buy another HTC device. I'll never do that again now because of what you've put me through. I've been such a loyal customer. I expected to be taken care of. And I wasn't. Why aren't you taking care of me? I mean, why can't someone resolve my problem? It's been months. It's been just months now. Why can't you resolve my problem? That's what I said. And he said, well, I'll take care of you. We'll get your device back. And I'm like, well, now that you're at the point where I'm not happy, I want something. I need something else. You need to go above and beyond as a customer. I'm a college student. We talk about this in my supply chain class and my marketing class about how if something actually goes wrong with the product and the company goes above and beyond to replace it, fix the situation, that customer is more loyal to that company at that point than if they just buy the product and nothing goes wrong. They're actually more loyal if something goes wrong and the company goes above and beyond to take care of that customer. And that has not happened with HTC. I don't like putting companies on blast. If you guys watch my video reviews, it's just something I don't do. Any company can make one bad device out of the bunch and have some better ones, as long as, you don't have your phones explode like Samsung. But this just had to happen. It's therapeutic. Like I said, this podcast, it's a tech discussion. It's a tech thing. And, The Verge, Ars Technica, MKBHD, Techno Buffalo, all these sites that review devices, they don't stick around for the long haul. They don't stay for that later period when you have to deal with the customer support and all that. And I think that's a really big problem. I kind of want to transition here moving forward for YouTubers and, just various review sites, even non-YouTube related. Even the HTC U11, it gets high marks, high regards. It's a phone that I wanted when it came out, and now I don't really want it because I know that I'm not going to get taken care of if I have issues in my warranty period. I'm not going to get taken care of. And I think that really needs to affect how we rate devices, how we rate manufacturers. I don't like iPhones, but something that Apple does way better than anyone else is they have fantastic support for their devices. Absolutely fantastic support for their devices. And I think that's mostly due to the fact that they have retail locations. So you can walk into an Apple store, see a physical person, and that person will help you. And oftentimes they'll get you walking out of that store with a new phone, or they'll write down the cost of your old phone so you can buy a brand new phone, get out of your contract. I mean, they do a lot in those carrier stores or those Apple stores to get you walking out of that store happy. And they're just the best at it, and no one else comes close. But no one's as far away as HTC. And so I think that, like I said, it's just such a big issue in tech, the support you get when devices break, when your OLED panel has burn-in, when your phone explodes, when you just have an issue or two and you want to get it resolved. I mean, the support that these companies provide are just, that should factor as much into a device review as anything else. Who are you getting backed by? What's the company backing you? And I still think that HTC makes really high quality and durable phones. My HTC One M7, like I said, was a tank. And the 10, for the most part, was a tank too. I mean, I dropped it a few times in drops that would just destroy the screens of other phones. And it emerged either unscathed or, with half or less the damage that a comparable device would have. So I still think that the devices themselves are high quality, but not every device you make is going to be flawless. I mean, people are going to have problems. It's just going to happen. What do you do when it happens? And that's not a process that gets detailed, that gets reviewed. You have to look at weird internet forums for, people's experiences, and they never seem to be good ones. Obviously, if someone's ranting on a forum, it's usually not going to be a happy rant. They're not going to say how great it was. Usually people take to those avenues, those venues, to say something negative. So it's really hard to get a read on what these support systems are like. And again, if I had a great HTC experience, I wouldn't make a podcast episode on it, so I'm guilty too. Although I did have a great experience, like I mentioned earlier, with Motorola, so that they get a chance to shine now. So if you're going to buy another device that's Android, I'd buy a Motorola right now because their company stands by their phones. And I don't know how to solve this issue going forward. As a YouTuber myself and other YouTubers and review sites, the way that this works, for those of you that don't know, is companies, usually carriers like Verizon or AT&T or Sprint, will send out manufacturer devices to the review site, to the YouTuber, what have you. And you'll get a review period with the phone. This is usually a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I have devices usually no shorter than 2 weeks. I really try to not review phones if I have them shorter than 2 weeks, and then up to a month even. And I really like that 2-week review period because I think that it gets, obviously any screen burn-in issues with the Pixel 2 would have came out well within 2 weeks. And I think it is a good opportunity to get a quality handle on the device. But, some things just don't manifest themselves until, a ways down the line. And, most YouTubers and most tech review sites, they don't buy these devices outright. They don't have someone using them year-round. They send them back. I have had to send every device I've ever received, back to Verizon, back to Sprint, back to whoever sent it to me. And so I don't get to see those problems manifest themselves. Those quality issues that require you to deal with warranty, and, you don't own the device, so you don't get to deal with customer support either. So fixing this problem going forward. I would love to, this is a conversation, this is a discussion. I would love to hear from you guys as we kind of wrap up the show here. I would love to hear from you guys, how can we as reviewers, how can sites you look at better review the support system? Because as I see it right now, it's definitely a fault of some of the bigger YouTubers, especially those who own. I know a lot of the bigger YouTubers now, I suspect that they only use devices for a few days because they just have so much content that they want to push out to their subscribers to stay on top, and they get so many devices sent to them that it's tough for them to review all of them in 2 weeks a piece amount of time. A lot of times they'll use 2-3 devices at once, whereas I always only use one device to really get a handle on, if this is my phone all the time, if this is my smartwatch all the time, and this is the only thing I use, how does it perform? Again, these bigger YouTubers, bigger review sites, I don't think really do even that due diligence. So what can we do better? What can sites do better? What can YouTubers do better to review these quality aspects and tell you when a company is just absolutely horrible, like HTC? And man, I just hate saying that. I've been a loyal customer of theirs for 4 or 5 years, and they just really didn't know how to take care of their customer on this one. So, why are these smartphone manufacturers sucking? Why do we have no customer service? Why do we have no customer support? What's with these quality control issues that just keep getting by time and time again with the face unlock for the iPhone, or the screen burn-in with the Pixels, or the uneven backlighting in the LG V30? I mean, these issues all seem to be cropping up at once, and, why is this happening? Why, we need to demand better of our manufacturers, of those who build our phones for us. And I'm not sure of the best way to do it besides, buy Motorola or buy the non-face unlock iPhone and, put your money where your mouth is. And that's what I'll continue to do moving forward. So I hope you guys liked the first episode of the Eddie's Tech Talk podcast. Please let me know what you guys think. What do you think about the state of tech right now, the state of smartphones, the state of quality, all the things that I talked about in this episode. Let me know in the comments section down below. This has been the first episode of Eddie's Tech Talk, guys, and I will see you in the next one.